The Kingdom of Kongo, located in Central Africa, flourished from the late 14th century until the 19th century, with its influence extending across present-day Angola, the Democratic Republic of Congo, and parts of Gabon. This powerful kingdom had a complex legal system deeply rooted in its social and spiritual fabric, where punishments were often harsh and symbolic, intended to not only deter crime, but also maintain social harmony. While many societies of the time enforced brutal justice, the Kingdom of Kongo had its own unique ways of meting out punishment. 1. The Nganga's Curse. One of the most feared punishments was the invocation of a curse by the Nganga, a spiritual healer and leader. For serious offenses like murder, sorcery, or treason, the convicted would be cursed by the Nganga, believed to bring misfortune, disease, or death to the individual and their family. This punishment was often seen as worse than death itself, as it targeted not just the individual but their lineage, affecting future generations and their ability to prosper. 2. Banishment to the bush. For certain crimes like theft, deceit, or betrayal of one's community, criminals would face banishment to the uninhabited forests surrounding the kingdom. Being expelled from the Congo society was tantamount to a death sentence, as the wild forests were filled with dangerous animals, hostile tribes, and spirits. The banished individual would struggle to survive, and their exile was often seen as a permanent form of social death, cutting them off from family, resources, and spiritual protection. 3. Death by Poison Ordeal. One of the most harrowing punishments in the Kingdom of Kongo involved the Poison Ordeal. Suspected criminals, particularly those accused of witchcraft, would be made to drink a poisonous concoction brewed from the bark of certain trees. Survival was seen as a sign of innocence, as it was believed the spirits would protect the just. However, more often than not, the poison would lead to death in a slow and excruciating manner, with the accused writhing in agony under public scrutiny. 4. Execution by spear. For high treason or plotting against the royal family, execution by spear was one of the most dramatic forms of punishment. The condemned person would be tied to a stake in the center of the community square, and a group of warriors would throw spears at them until they bled out. This execution was not only a demonstration of loyalty to the king, but also a clear message to anyone thinking of threatening the stability of the kingdom. 5. Mutilation of Limbs. The Congo legal system often employed corporal punishment, and mutilation was reserved for thieves or those who repeatedly broke the law. A common punishment involved the amputation of fingers, hands, or feet. This served as both a deterrent and a permanent mark of shame. The loss of a limb not only weakened the individual, but also signified their loss of honor and usefulness in society. 6. Impalement. Impalement was another form of extreme punishment reserved for severe crimes such as murder, rebellion, or betrayal of the king. The condemned would be hoisted onto a sharpened stake, which would slowly pierce their body from the bottom up. This excruciating method of execution was slow, painful, and public, sending a clear message to the kingdom about the consequences of defiance. 7. Forced Enslavement. Criminals, particularly those who could not afford to pay restitution for their crimes, were often condemned to a life of slavery. This punishment was common for debtors or those who committed lesser crimes. These individuals would lose their freedom and be sold into slavery either within the kingdom or, in later years, to European traders. Forced enslavement was not only a physical punishment, but also a social one, as it stripped the individual of their status and humanity. 8. Drowning in the River of Spirits. In the Congo belief system, rivers were seen as gateways to the spiritual world, where ancestors resided. For particularly heinous crimes, such as sacrilege or offending the gods, the condemned would be bound and thrown into a sacred river. This act was seen as delivering the offender directly to the spirits, bypassing the natural process of death and burial. Drowning in the river was considered a severe punishment, as it denied the individual a proper burial and connection with the ancestors. 9. Death by fire. For crimes related to witchcraft or dealings with malevolent spirits, the criminal was sometimes sentenced to death by fire. Public burnings were rare, but extremely feared. The individual would be tied to a post and set ablaze in front of the community. This punishment was symbolic, as fire was seen as a purifying force that cleansed evil from the land. The agony of burning alive was a physical manifestation of the spiritual cleansing believed to occur through the flames. The Smothering Ceremony. Reserved for nobles or high-ranking officials who betrayed the kingdom, the Smothering Ceremony was both a form of execution and an act of erasure. The convicted would be slowly suffocated using thick blankets, with the entire ceremony conducted in silence. This punishment was secretive, as it was often carried out in secluded areas with only a select group of witnesses. Smothering was meant to not only kill, but also erase the memory of the individual, symbolically removing their existence from the royal records and collective memory. The justice system in the Kingdom of Kongo, like many ancient civilizations, was built around the principle of maintaining harmony and stability within the society. While some of these punishments may seem harsh by today's standards, they were seen as necessary to preserve the delicate balance between the living and the spiritual world. Whether through physical pain, social isolation, or spiritual condemnation, these punishments served as powerful deterrents, ensuring that the laws of the kingdom were respected and upheld. This historical glimpse into the worst punishments of the Kingdom of Kongo reveals a complex and often brutal approach to justice, one that reflected the values and beliefs of the time.